Hello, my name is Ellie, and I'm going to be doing my community assessment on the San Luis Valley. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Perfect. So for my community assessment, I decided to interview two of my relatives who have lived in the San Luis Valley within Alamosa for basically their whole lives. My Aunt Sarah and my cousin Amber. My aunt owns a flower shop in town, while my cousin is a part-time student, and she also helps my uncle run his ranch. On the ranch, she is responsible for feeding cattle, land labor, and planting crops. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make a trip to the valley for an in-person interview, but on the bright side, I was able to conduct a three-way phone interview. So let's go ahead and get started here. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. It did take me a little bit of time to figure out exactly what this assignment was asking for, so please just bear with me, and thank you for choosing to view my presentation. All right, so next I'm going to be talking about the patterns and behaviors of the valley. After asking my aunt about this, she mentioned that she has seen within her community, she discussed an interesting pattern shift throughout the years. And as a 60-year-old woman, my aunt spent a lot of her childhood in the 60s. And back then, it was common for those who are born into the valley to want to build a life and stay in the valley. This usually meant continuing the family business, contributing to labors and responsibilities of owning land, and fully committing to the rural lifestyle. My aunt mentioned that nowadays, most children born into rural settings, such as the San Luis Valley, choose to eventually move to urban areas that are more populated. And because of this, the population of the valley has really shrunk down. My cousin also expanded on this statement and mentioned that the younger generation has been beginning new lives in the cities because that's basically where the employment opportunities are. This may not always be the case. She also stated that they could be abandoning their rural lifestyles, different, simply due to personal preference. But the behavioral change has definitely become very common within the rural community, especially in the past decade. Let's go to the next one. Next, I'm going to be discussing the history of the San Luis Valley. When I questioned my cousin and my aunt about the history or if they knew anything about it, they really just stated that they were unfamiliar with the previous settlers and other contributions to the creation of the community. Therefore, I conducted my own research to get a better understanding. The Costilla County website mentions that this was the first in the state to be colonized all the way back in 1540, and it contains many historical attributes such as churches, reservoirs, museums, and also the cross shrines. The Sangre de Crisco, as you guys can see right over here, it was it's found in San Acacio, and it is known to be the oldest Christian structure within Colorado. It was built in 1886. Here you can also see the San Luis Museum of Cultural Center, and it was finished being built by 1944. And here we have the R&R Supermarket, which is the oldest operating business within the state of Colorado since 1857. So that's pretty interesting. And let's go to the next one. All right, so now we're focusing on age, race, and ethnicity. My cousin and I discussed my third interview question regarding the overall race and ethnicities of the community members, as well as the age. And I mentioned previously that it isn't uncommon nowadays for children of rural families to discontinue the lifestyle for themselves and potentially future generations. And because of this, the overall population in the area consists of elderly and middle-aged folks. So when considering race and ethnicity in the San Luis Valley, the valley has a high percentage of Hispanic and Latino families and individuals, leaving the Anglo and African American population in really small numbers. My aunt did mention that there were two African American families that she's aware of that are well known and respected within the community. But other than that, seeing Black individuals and families is a very rare occurrence within the valley. All right, so when it comes to landmarks, rivers, roads, and geologic attributes, the San Luis screams rural. My aunt described the big river in her backyard where she spent the majority of her time growing up. When the seasons changed, the river would be swarming with trout, and her friends and her would spend the entire day fishing. The river was used for swimming and fun activities, and my aunt also mentioned that as part of her childhood that she will never forget. So the roads in the San Luis Valley are majorly dirt and gravel, although they look much more, common when you approach the towns. The overall condition of the roads in the San Luis Valley is very similar to streets in the state of Colorado, which we all know could definitely use some work. And for landmarks, my cousin mentioned that there is a drive-in movie theater that she enjoys going to, which is called the Star Drive-In Theater. And although the theater itself isn't anything super fancy, she mentioned that families, couples, and individuals have been enjoying this theater for years. And my cousin also expanded on that and mentioned that her and her husband frequently have date nights at this theater. All right, values of the San Luis Valley. Values are very traditional within the valley. Every family member has their job and duties to withhold the ranch. And basically, if one of the tasks doesn't get done, it negatively impacts everyone and everything. My aunt also mentioned that it isn't uncommon to work from on your feet all day from the time that the sun rises to the time that the sun sets. That is very normal and common. Land labor, running errands, hauling water and tools, and feeding the animals, it's definitely not an in and out job, and it takes time to do. So and also her father, this is important, her father always ensured that the work was done properly and efficiently. He would always double check and just make sure that it's done up to his standards. Let's see what else we have here. The land, something that my aunt mentioned that I thought was very important too is that she said, land is money and land is power. So it's important that the whole family contributes their roles in protecting it. My cousin also mentioned that most members of this community, they tend to avoid shifting their attention towards like social media trends and other social media trends, fashion trends, stuff like that, other similar factors that may be more popular within urban cities. Sorry about that. The majority of them do, however, put a lot of value into family, hard work, church, and their land. And I think that finishes off this video. Let me just figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video.